This is Steve Zeltzer with Workweek. One of the issues that working people in California and around the country are facing is the need to have health and safety workplaces. And in California, we have Cal-OSHA, which is run by the state of California under Governor Newsom, and is supposed to protect the working people of California. Yet, it's been unable to make any physical inspections of factories like Tesla, of General Hospital in San Francisco, and many other locations where workers are concerned about their health and safety. And we have with us Dr. Larry Rose, who's the former medical director of Cal-OSHA, and he was involved in actually making physical inspections, which apparently is impossible to do under Governor Newsom and the present management of Cal-OSHA. Welcome to Workweek, Dr. Rose.
Yes, good to talk to you, Steve.
So why don't you talk about your work in Cal-OSHA as a medical director and the fact that you even visited the former plant, which is a NUMMI plant, GM Toyota plant, and did some investigations.
Yes, well, many of those investigations went on through the Oakland District Office, and I acted as a backup with the medical unit. And at that time, as you know, it was the NUMMI plant that turned out Toyota and General Motors vehicles. And always when we went out there, the plant provided their health and safety expert, representing the plant, and a shop steward with the union accompanied us, and we focused on what part of the plant the complaint was coming from. And often it was illness related or safety, musculoskeletal disorders. That could be solved with small changes in the production line. So yes, at that time, NUMMI was quite responsive to our investigations, and very good changes were made. I understand now that Cal-OSHA is not responding to these complaints and sending out letters in lieu of or instead of a true on-site inspection. Well, that's outrageous, considering the large number of employees now being employed, starting up the assembly line, and the only oversight is by the Fremont Police Department, which is ridiculous. Police departments do not do workplace or employee health and safety issues, and it's just, unbelievable that that's going on now.
And the fact that Governor Newsom is welcoming the restart of that plant without even the testing of the workers for COVID, you think that's criminally negligent because those workers may be contaminated, have symptomatic signs, and yet there no testing of the workers at that plant in any organized way? What does that represent?
Well, Cal-OSHA has a standard, and it's called the Airborne Infectious Disease Standard, 5188 in the General Industry Safety Orders. And that standard should be applied to the opening of that huge plant out there, in Fremont by Elon Musk. And Musk's comments are just ridiculous. Like, he turned out for a public relations show when they were first opening to say, look, I'm working on the assembly line, and look how safe it is. Well, that's just asinine. And if our governor doesn't, shore up, make a better, stronger Cal-OSHA to investigate plants like this new Elon Musk plant, it's malfeasance on the part of Governor Newsom.
Now, in California, Cal-OSHA, which is supposed to make sure that workers have some protection, has less than 200 inspectors. I believe it only has one doctor and one nurse. What does that say about the concern that Governor Newsom and this legislature have about the protection of workers' health and safety in California?
Yeah, well, the ratio of inspector to worker in California is one inspector for over 90,000 workers. In other words, Cal-OSHA is being bled to death by Newsom's policies, which is he will not hire enough inspectors for Cal-OSHA to do the job that they are mandated to do, which is protect the health and safety of all California workers. So I'm surprised that Newsom is just ignoring the health and safety of California workers.
And the other issue, of course, is that workers are being coerced to go back to work. In the case of Tesla, Elon Musk demanded they go back to work and said that if they didn't, they would lose their unemployment. They work 72 hours a week at that plant. If they don't agree to work overtime, they get demerits and are fired. It sounds like a plantation operation that he's running in NUMMI. Also, they fired 700 workers there to prevent unionization. There was a union organizing drive. That was never, prosecuted, the massive union busting. And apparently he conspired to cover up injuries of workers, which is actually workers' comp fraud, so that they wouldn't be liable. Why hasn't Elon Musk been criminally prosecuted?
Well, first of all, the whole funding of Cal-OSHA has been woefully inadequate, and we have the worst ratio of inspector to number of workers, 1 to 90,000 workers of of most of the state OSHA programs, and so Newsom knows what's going on, and he basically is ignoring the rights of all California workers. It's criminal.
And he said that he was going to open the assembly line regardless of the shelter-in-place order by the Department of Health of Alameda County. Do you think he should have been arrested for violating that order?
Well, he certainly should be challenged by organized labor. And Cal-OSHA has a program for health and safety in this time of a pandemic. They have a good program if it is implemented, But at present, they're not implementing it. When they get these serious complaints about frontline workers and essential workers not being protected, practically absent personal protection, they don't respond. They send a letter in lieu of an inspection saying a boilerplate letter, but not going out and doing an on-site inspection and seeing that a real health, real safety program is in place for these very, very important frontline workers.
And do you find it shocking that in the midst of this pandemic where workers' health and safety is of vital importance, it's a matter of life and death, there are no physical inspections like at San Francisco General Hospital, at Tesla, at many other locations. Workers are pretty much on their own. Cal-OSHA is not in the fields in California, has not inspected the fields to see if the farm workers, agricultural workers are being protected. It seems like that Governor Newsom and the legislature are leaving workers on their own in California and not making sure that they're protected, even though they're required to provide some protection for workers in California.
Yeah, in view of the pandemic and how many people it's affecting, this is outrageous. Cal-OSHA does have a standard, airborne transmissible diseases, 5188, and that should be applied. In order to apply it with much needed on-site inspections, they'll need about 100 times the number of now existing inspection employees at Cal-OSHA. So basically, it's being bled to death by not hiring a reasonable amount of staff, which would be about 100 times the around 200 inspectors or 2,000 inspectors.
Well, the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement is calling for 1,000 inspectors.
Right.
So you believe it should be 2,000 inspectors.
Absolutely, and there should be at least 100 public health medical officers there as well, and statewide.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much for joining us on Work Week. We've been talking with Dr. Larry Rose, the former medical director of Cal-OSHA, about the appalling situation in California that Cal-OSHA is unable or refusing to make physical inspections, and that Governor Newsom has refused to hire additional inspectors and medical staff in the midst of this pandemic. So thanks for joining us on Work Week.